Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Bream Fishing Project. And I got to tell you, I am super excited. We got 3 weeks of cracking episodes, and this one is one of the best. Coming from the guys and girls at the Vic Bream Classics, we're here to review the 2025 Club Marine East Gippsland Bream Classic, which was held obviously on Gippsland Lakes out of Meetung on the 22nd to the 23rd of March in 2025. And there is so much going on at the moment. I'm super pumped. I'm going to tell you all about it. But straight after we get through the intros, here we go.
Welcome to the Bream Fishing Project. This is where you need to be every Tuesday to find out all the latest tips and tricks to help you target bream on lures. You'll get to hear from some of Australia's elite bream competition anglers and see how they were able to achieve their results in competitions around the country. Now, here's your host, the 2019 Hobie Kayak Fishing World Champion, Andrew Deeth.
All right. So as it stands today, right now, it is day 3 of the ABT Australian Open on Sydney Harbour. So that's why I'm just a little bit more pumped than normal. Sorry, it's day 2. So I was in there today having a look at what's going on in there, seeing results. Who is going to win? I'm not sure. By the time this comes out, you will all know. That is for sure. Anyway, let's dial the clock back to March 2023 to Gippsland Lakes. Now, this obviously Gippsland Lakes is absolutely firing at the moment, and the tournaments are recording excellent bags and great stories. And this one is, honestly, it's one of the best. You've got Dan Mackerel, Declan Betts, Alex Franchuk and Paul Malov. And then the new kids on the block, Zero Technique, Josh Jeffery and Connor Jackson. I'm going to run through all the stats and what have you. But one thing I haven't been doing lately, and I don't think anyone complained, so I probably won't do it. But this one, I think the stat is important. They got their 10 fish for 11.181 kilos, which obviously is an average of 1.18 kilos per fish, which I just think is absolutely staggering. And I can't wait to share this story with you. Anyway, let's go through the bite periods and what have you for this one. We'll go through, there's a few divisions in this one, so we'll run through those as well and then get into the angler interviews. Okay, Saturday, they had just 10 in the fish activity wheel. The major bite period was at 5:35 a.m. through to 8:05 a.m. Low tide was at 11:51 at 0.38, running up to a high tide at 8:40 at 0.91. On the Sunday, we had 13 in the fish activity. The major bite period was 6:28 through to 8:58 a.m. Low tide was at 11:25 at 0.65, running up to a high just after 8 at 0.73. Once again, sometimes these tides don't make a lot of sense, but in any case, that's what I've got. All right, so just running through a couple of the divisions there. The Sunline Best Bag went to Team Zero Technique, Josh Jeffery and Connor Jackson, with a monster bag of 5 fish for 6.86 kilos. Eco Gear Big Bream went to Team Hurricane, Peter Bruckle and Riley Whelan, who weighed in a massive bream at 1.85. Imagine catching that in a competition, what that's going to do to your day. Absolutely fantastic. The Monster Movers went to Team Samurai Rods, Dan Mackerel and Declan Betts, who weighed in a big bag on day 2 of 6.54 kilos, moving them 22 places up the leaderboard to finish in 3rd position. And they get to have a talk on the Bream Fishing Project. How exciting is that? And of course, the Shimano Junior Angler Prize went to Riley Whelan from Team Hurricane, who finished in 7th place. And the last division here, before we get into the angler interviews, is the Miller Rogue Longest Flatted Prize went to Team Pick the Spots, Mac Golding and Ken Anderson, who caught a cracking flathead that measured 77.5 centimeters long. How good is that? All right, this is a great story. Look, I really hope you enjoy this one. And here we go. Okay, so coming in 3rd place, we have Team Samurai Rods. They dropped 5 fish on the Saturday for 4.305. Backed it up on Sunday with a big bag of 5 fish for 6.54, giving them a total of 10 fish overall for 10.85 kilos. I have Dan and Declan. Welcome back to the show, guys.
Thanks, Davey. Thanks for having us.
Evening, Andrew.
And this, I haven't counted up, but we've done a few interviews now.
We're getting a couple. It all seems to be at the same venue, though.
Yeah, which is still good.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were saying before, and we'll dive back into this in a minute, but 25th, I think you said overnight into third. Nice jump.
Yeah, one more take. We had a bit of a quieter day on Saturday, so it was nice to bounce back on Sunday for sure.
100%. It's interesting. In the kayak comps, I always just to say, as long as I'm not more than a kilo behind, it's only 3 fish, I'm still in it. And I think that's similar to what you've done there. Like, you're not far off in the end. So
Probably only one place we could have rolled that deficit, though, and that's in that joint, I think, really.
yeah, either way. Let's get into pre-fishing. You guys been down there and had a look around much, or how's it been?
Well, we didn't. We went down there probably, a month prior for the ABT, so we had a bit of a look around. It was fish completely different to back then even. The ABT had sort of had a lot of rain prior to it, so...
We weren't even any good at that one.
No, our beloved straits were doing all sorts of tricky things over that weekend, so we had to try and look elsewhere for our fish on that one.
Yeah, okay. Interesting. And then did you fish the Friday beforehand?
Yeah, so Friday we got down there nice and early and got to Holland's Landing, and yeah, we certainly segregated quite a few people down there for the morning, and we had a bit of a time. We fished inside the straits. We caught a few sort of fish early and no real big ones. We sort of caught numbers in there.
Yeah.
And then we sort of went outside for a little bit and had a bit of a run around some of the outside edges and flats out there and caught more fish. Still sort of hadn't caught too many big fish by that stage. Sort of, I think the best one outside we caught was probably 950 grams and probably left more questions than answers. The sort of bite sort of picked up when the wind got up, and then we looked at each other at about 11:30, 12 o'clock and said, do we actually think about trailing it and doing something else? And like Betsy I think he's had too many times.
I blindly kept driving.
So we'll just go and fish the straits again. So we went and fished the straits, and I think we caught like a 41 for another 40 fork, and we missed some other fish. So we sort of had our eyes opened a little bit more as to the potential. The only difference for that was that the water had swung around and was actually pushing in the direction we like to fish that venue. So
Okay. Had much change since you fished the ABT? Was there noticeable differences there?
Yeah, you could see more than an inch into the water, so there was a lot more visibility. So yeah.
Okay. So that obviously worked better for you.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Let's roll around to comp day. Tell us how you went on Saturday, how you went about catching your fish.
What did we do? We started on a likely spot because we'd seen a bunch of fish there sit there on the end of the day on pre-fish. Nothing there.
Nothing.
And it stood to reason a little bit. I think it was timing and tide, but there was literally nothing there. And then we went to a bit outside, not far outside the straits.
Yep.
Where we caught fish on pre-fish, and also nothing there.
Right.
So at least that sort of clued us in to what not to do and when not to do it, or something like that.
It was glass calm too, which sort of deterred us from the outside part at that point.
Yeah.
And I think we then decided, stuff it, we're going back into the straits proper, and we just started plugging away, and I think we caught a fish pretty quickly. I think we've caught a couple pretty quickly. Nothing to write home about, and nothing that we would call straits quality fish, I suppose. Because once upon a time you go into the straits and every bite you get, even if you only got 5 or 6 bites, what you'd pull out was calibre versus... At the moment, there's some fish turning up in there that, well, they're not so big. So you hope to get a few more bites, if that makes any sense. So we scratched around for a little bit, and I think we might have 3 or 4, but really pretty small. Nothing to write home about at all. I'm trying to think which way it went. I know we got one good fish, definitely, and Dan got that, and it was a proper one. I think it went 158 or something like that. So that was the only thing that really held that bag up on that day. We dropped probably 2 bites that we would have liked to have stuck. I hooked one, and I could feel the way it was sort of violently moving around that, yeah, this is one we want. And then it just mysteriously pulled hooks. And I think Dan had a similar one do the same thing. And then the tide sort of swung around a bit and changed a bit. So we thought we'd go and do a couple of other bits and pieces. And Dan had me vibing up rodents, and I told him after 10 minutes in no uncertain times that we were leaving.
Okay.
And I think we tried a couple other things we thought would work, and they worked from about 530 grams to like 580 and 590 grams. They were the extent of our upgrades.
Wow.
We really didn't fire a half or many decent shots. That would pretty much sum up day one, I reckon.
Okay. And in terms of...
It was a bit shit.
a bit rubbish. In terms of techniques, you plastics, you definitely use vibes there for a short period of time before giving that up.
It was a very short period of time.
I think it was like
anyway. Dan persisted a little bit.
10 fish in 10 casts. I think the biggest one would have been about 27 centimetres they were on, but they were just tiny. Like we'd actually pulled up on the spot outside one of the points when they were sort of pushing out with the tide the day before, and we caught a couple of fish quickly, and one was around a kilo. So it was a cheap option to try and get a couple of upgrades, but it certainly didn't pay off at the time. So
yeah.
And near the end of the day, Dan hooked one, and he was actually on the vibe. It was in a slightly different area, and he was a bit excited.
Yeah.
Then it come up, and he went, "Oh shit! My fish detection size has gone a little bit to the dogs," as he pulls up this like 30.5 forker kind of thing, and expecting there was a big fish. So sort of laughed at him and we threw it away, and that was pretty much when we left. And the other one that was very intriguing was the fact that Dan on his little vibing expeditions would have caught 3 flathead in the straits, and none of them would have measured over 12 centimetres.
Really?
So as a place you would not think that there would be a breeding sort of habitat for baby flathead, well, think again.
Yeah. Well, there you go. There you go. You need to let those swim back down, and maybe a big brim come and eat it.
They would have been a good mouthful.
Fair enough.
No, we did spend a little bit of time out in the flats towards the end as well, and again, plenty of fish, but just the right calibre. So
yeah,
and it's I think that sort of rings true with that place at the moment. Like the fish are so sort of transient with the banks they're turning up on. Talking to a lot of guys fishing out and around the lake, it is, some days like pre-fish they've done really well. The next day they really struggle to find them, or they just had little bite windows of they get 2 or 3 good ones. So
yeah,
there's a lot of fish out there. They're just moving around a hell of a lot at the moment.
Yeah, and the better ones. How did you find the bite? Were they smacking them, or what was that like?
On day one, we were both sort of we were still searching for it. So that was a lot of small ones. So
all right. So you came back in with, what do we say, 4.305 and 25th position. What are you guys thinking overnight?
Oh, we were upbeat as. We were ready to go.
Yeah.
Can't admit to have had a couple of quick cans and a little bit of, well, that wasn't so good now, was it? And yeah, didn't think much more about fishing for the rest of the evening, I don't reckon.
Nah, retire.
Just parked it.
Not much discussion on what we're going to do the next day. We thought we'd just make that up on the fly as we went. So
okay. And compared to a normal time where you might be a lot higher in the field, was the rig up a lot more relaxed? Was it just pretty much tie the ones you need to? And
I didn't even want to do
it. Yeah. I think sadly we're just so diligent nowadays that, you've cost ourselves over time by not putting that time and effort into the preparation, that you just get the preparation done, move on, get it done as fast as you can sometimes, and then enjoy the evening.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you're only hurting yourself or just missing any other chances of those little 1%ers by not doing that preparation work.
100%. One of the things that goes through my head in that situation too is, okay, your day one hasn't been as you would have hoped and somebody else has smashed it, but the days can reverse 100% tomorrow. Like you can smash it and whoever's in the lead can not smash it. So
yeah, that was definitely discussed. I think it felt like that kind of environment, that kind of comp where somebody could easily kind of fall and somebody could easily rise, because it was just not that consistent pattern. You know what I mean? That's why it's sort of, you always knew in the back of your head that something might be able to shift.
Yeah, fair enough. Very cool. Let's move on to the Sunday. So you're a little bit more fly by the seat of your pants. Tell us how Sunday played out.
Well, Sunday was a beautiful start of the morning. I think it was glass calm again. We had, pulled up on a bank not very far from the boat ramp, and was that morning we had a big, all the dolphins come through. That was pretty nice start to the day.
Okay.
So we just got to enjoy the show from those guys for 5 or 10 minutes, and then I think we got 3 small fish on the first bank we fished. it was sort of actually, it really did sort of clue us in actually as to what we were probably doing wrong on the first day. We sort of, because it was so calm, we just sort of drifted along. We just sort of slowed everything right down. So we actually picked up a couple of fish a little bit wider of the bank than we sort of been fishing, just from, and extended pauses on the bottom. So, with that in mind, we sort of had another couple of banks. We knew the caliber of fish we had caught had been all a bit higher up. So thought our rotation from the day before was sort of thrown out slightly by not fishing outside. So had some other banks we were pretty keen to look at a bit further up in the straits.
Yeah. Okay. So did you order your weights and stuff and slow down your sink rates and stuff like that? Is that what you're talking about?
As far as sink rates, no, it was all pretty similar. My all the hard work I did the night before tying fresh leaders and lures on got blown up in about the first 20 minutes. I had
3 flappy paddles and 1 completely busted leader.
Yep. Hung up, wouldn't hit a barn door with my cast for the first half an hour on Sunday.
Right.
There was no
Lovely.
fish involved in that destruction.
No, not at all. So I just thought, bugger it, I'll retie what I had on, and just went back and got organised as Declan drove us upriver to our next area we were going to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we had an area we'd missed a couple of good fish on pre-fish, like just proper clunks, and sort of they were on momentarily and sort of shook off. So we knew there was some better fish in the area, and we jumped in, fished really tight to the bank and really slow, and I think we got a couple of small ones. We got another one nice one. It was around 38 fork. Put it in the well, and then sort of fished that bank for another fish, I think, and then it was sort of showed a bit of promise. It was only the small stretch, so Betsy thought, "Yep, we'll run and hit that run again." So we went back, pushed up a little bit further. We'd fished all of that bank, and then probably getting very near the end. I think actually he's probably bending down to pick up the electric motor, and
it was on the third time when he said, "Can we go yet?"
I was about done. I felt we'd sort of turned that little bit of water into foam, and I was like, but then, as he likes to try and debunk theories, or we like to try and debunk each other's theories in the end, he had the last laugh on that one as he's picking up the lecky, and he's just, oh, come on, and then proceeded to pull out a fish that was probably about 40 odd fork, I reckon. So
nice.
So we had two good ones in the well, and then we had some smaller fish in there. We had a bag, so pressure was off a little bit. We're sort of laughing. And it'd be nice if a couple more of those the day before had turned up, and there was another stretch of bank, probably about half a K down. We wanted to pull up on, and Declan got a really nice fish out of that one, probably at 39 fork.
Yep.
Pulled that one out. And then probably another 30 metres along, I think, just on a little snag, put a nice little cast in, and on. That would have been 41, 42 fork, and we had 4 good ones in the well at that point, and a little one to sort of throw out. And it's probably about 8:30, 8:45, I think, by that time. So we had a lot of time up our sleeve to sort of go and just fish for one big bite, really. So
wow. How did you find the fish going? Were they a bit was it hard pulling them out? They go nuts, or?
Well, it's the harder you pull, sometimes the harder they pull. It's more of if you get enough practice fishing in there, especially with those heavier rods, once you've hooked them up, as long as you're not wrenching on them and sort of bucking your rod, they don't get up too upset. You can sort of lean on the electric motor, and you've only got to pull them out 5 metres, and you're sort of generally pretty safe. So we normally try and load them up, try not to do too much with the rod at that point, just hold gentle pressure on them, pull them out, and then get it done. So
okay, interesting.
We've just sort of been bitten sometimes when they're really angry. When you sort of try and go hard on them, it's not far for them to get you home and get things finished off. So
all right, you got your 5 in the well. I think you said you had a couple of good ones. You're chasing one last big fish, or a couple of last big fish?
Yeah, well, we probably had 38 fork would have been our smallest 4. We had one, probably early 30s to get rid of, and I think we upgraded that to a 32, a 33, 34, 35. So we kept catching plenty of fish. Like, the bite was not red hot, but if you put enough casts in the right areas and slowed things down enough, you sort of got the reward. So we went to another bank a bit further up that we sort of hadn't done too much on. We'd lost a really big fish there on pre-fish as well, and had fished most of it. Like, it's a pretty long stretch, probably about a K of river, I reckon, and we fished all of 850 metres of it, and then, finally got another one decent bite, and it was probably 42 fork. So
wow.
But at that stage, we were both sort of looking at each other thinking, well, what's next? It's pretty hard to try and upgrade a 38 fork. So, but 11, that was probably like maybe 10:30, I reckon, for that fish. And then would have been about 11 o'clock, I think, really sort of slowed down a bit for us, to be honest. So
Yeah, right. And started to back off. Yeah, that's interesting. Was there much current difference between Saturday and Sunday?
nah, minimal. It was pretty placid all weekend, the whole 3 days for that place, to be honest. So.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, from not having fished it, my understanding is the current can get in there pretty hard sometimes and flow in different directions at different times.
Yep, yeah, and you've got to know which areas to be in. It bounces off different banks differently. There's so many different inlets and backwaters that will fill up and drop out of water. So if you get an understanding on which areas are affected or not affected by it, it can certainly translate to more bites or more opportunities.
Fair enough.
You call it polite on that weekend, I reckon.
Yeah, fair enough.
Like, it didn't change the attitude of your boat or make you drift backwards or anything stupid like it can do. So, yeah, it was pretty polite.
Yeah, okay. Very good. All right. So to sum up, basically plastics for the weekend, more or less, except for the stint of vibes, which was not enjoyed very much.
The vibes were thrown, definitely. Yep. And look, they have their time.
Yeah.
There's probably not enough fish sitting out off the edge at the moment to really warrant it. It was more just an exploratory thing on pre-fish that quite a few fish when nothing else is working for a while. So there's always one rigged up.
Yeah.
Out in the flats, we ran a lot of deep cranks. The new Zip Baits lead bomb has been quite good in that regard. It's dies very quickly. It's got a very subtle rattle, so I can see it sort of playing a lot more as we go forward with it. I've really enjoyed using that one. So
what was that called again?
It's a Zip Baits lead bomb. So they're 48 mil long, very deep diving. So similar to your spikes and dunks. So really sort of punches down nice quickly, and yeah, you can hold the bottom very well.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, just having a look at that. And you got any favourite colours at this point?
There's I don't even know what the codes are on them. There's a boatfish profile one with purpley tail on it. Got one on the boat here actually. There's the shrimp. I don't know if you can see that one there.
Yeah.
Yep.
A bit of a prawn pattern, I guess.
Yep. And Hollands is a funny one. I think it's about the only place I know where you can sort of, like, I love throwing natural coloured lures most places, but there I think you can get away with throwing anything with any sort of highlights really. So
yeah, right.
A little bit off coloured. So yep.
Yeah, just catch your attention. So that was your flats sort of setup.
Yep. Then back in the Straits, it's just a mixture of plastics and various jig heads. Sometimes it's fishing, higher up in the water column where you're using the atomic EWGs with the belly weight on them, just to try to really slow things down and sort of if the fish are holding higher in the snags. Otherwise, for me, it's running the Gamakatsu round 25s and actually tucking the plastic back into the plastic. So
wow. Okay, so you're trying to make it as weedless as possible.
Yep.
Okay, and given you guys are both proud Froglies boys, what rods and lines and stuff are you running?
Well, 252 is our...
test him out, test his knowledge.
252 is our lovely friend when it comes to the snags in there.
Yeah.
Just works. It's the right balance. It's the right sensitivity and the right pulling power. Yeah, I've still been running the Major Craft Dangan braid, actually, which has been pretty good to me. And probably leader size, we've probably upgraded a little bit because the Straits has become a little bit more barnacle encrusted, so probably around that more like 10 to 12 pound mark rather than some of the lighter lines we've been using because you're just getting cut through a lot quicker now.
Yeah.
A lot of fresh water's run through there in the last few years, and essentially it had killed off a lot of that sort of the things that salt grows, and it's starting to come back with a vengeance. So you do find nicks in your leader and that sort of stuff, so you do have to be a lot more observant. Because, you can break stuff without even knowing because you'll have this, little nick in your leader or whatever and put a bit of hurt on a decent fish and it just lets go. So, which has not been an issue for quite some time.
Yeah. This is the feedback I've got from a couple of different sources that it's definitely become a lot sharper down there.
It's like razor sharp. It's actually, it's probably sharpest as I can ever remember, to be honest, at the moment. So
yeah. Fair enough.
It certainly harked back to the earliest days when I fished it, going back 7 8 years ago, when there was something a little bit like that. But, it's been pretty pure ever since.
Yeah, fair enough. All right. I reckon that covers everything pretty well. Tell us for third place, you remember what you guys got to take home?
There's a novelty check sitting in front of us.
$1,700.
Yeah, mine looks the same. Funny that.
Fair enough. So not bad for a weekend away.
Nah, it certainly helps. Yeah, probably covers costs on that one, which is grouse. So
Yeah, absolutely.
a few kilometres done in the car and boat over that weekend. So
yeah, I was going to say it's sometimes not cheap to do these comps.
Well, I think what people don't understand too is when you actually spend your weekend hanging out in Meetung and you drive to Holland's Landing and back, it is 150 odd Ks return. It's like us travelling from Colac to Geelong every day. And so you do that stupid o'clock start, and yeah, it's pretty solid. It's an extra 2 hours travelling, literally.
Yeah, which is massive.
The only thing Declan likes doing, he absolutely loves getting to the Holland's Landing long drop. It's probably one of his favourite venues in the whole bloody coast. So it's a real highlight for him in the morning.
Yes, I was lamenting only having a T-shirt on that third morning. Wish I'd had a jumper. Would have given me a bit of extra insurance around my nose, so I didn't want to gag and throw up. But
you probably should have known, though, at that point that your day was about to really improve when the moments after that, if you want to divulge further about what happened.
No, we're not going to go there. Let's just say we had a small win and a lucky uptake, which made me dance like a silly idiot. And it probably was the turning point, definitely.
Oh, there you go. Don't you guys run GoPros all the time?
Oh,
God, no. We are shocking at taking any media, to be fair. Like, we probably really should pull our bloody socks up and do a bit more with that.
We just love fishing. We're so stupidly and probably competitive at the same time. Probably said it before. We want to beat each other up on the boat first when it comes to the fish catching stage before we care about anybody else or what happens in the comp. So,
yeah, I had a pretty sizable flathead with fish tyres on the way on the Thursday just for something to do.
Yeah,
I took a really big flathead and landed that one, and yeah, that probably summed up all of our energy. You get like 3 photos of it. So
okay, yeah, fair enough. That was you done. Fair enough.
Well, I don't actually have a fish picture on my camera roll for the weekend.
Mate, I'll send you one, mate. Yeah, fair enough. I was going to say, is it you guys that I can't remember who it is that they have a rule? Whoever's fishing best gets to coach the other guy. Is that you guys?
No. We just do that freely. So
yeah.
I can't remember who it is, but it's kind of funny.
Interestingly, Betsy, what is on your camera roll from that weekend? Do you reckon there's any other random photos that you might have taken?
I don't know where that question's leading, and I'm not sure what the answer is.
What about the Friday morning when you walked in?
Pants. Yeah.
The elephant pants.
Yes. Yes. No, I woke up at was it 5:30?
Declan come down from his upstairs penthouse at the house we were staying at.
Yep.
Before acceptances, and Paul and Alex were out in the kitchen, and Betsy laid eyes on Paul and looked at the tie elephant pants he's wearing, and Betsy couldn't even get a word out. All he could summon was his hand in his pocket, took a photo of his phone and moved on to the toaster. So
Fair enough.
That is pretty much exactly how it worked. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Elephant pants made you happy.
Okay, cool.
We've both probably got home and we've both been Googling elephant pants because obviously the elephant mojo for Paul and Alex on the weekend worked out really well. So
yeah, absolutely. All right, guys. Look, last thing before we shoot off, as always, is there anyone you want to give a shout out to or say thank you to?
Yeah. Quick shout out to Frogley's Offshore. I think we're coming up to about year 14 with those guys, and they've certainly been amazing for all the Samurai, Atomic, all the new zip baits, lines, leaders, jig heads, you name it. It certainly makes our job a lot easier to sort of fish the way we do and as free as we do.
Yeah.
It certainly enables us to take, more different rod variations down to different venues to suit the way we like to fish. And certainly helps us put extra fish in the boat. And obviously thank Declan again for another great weekend away. Paul and Alex that we stay with, it was very enjoyable. Plenty of banter as usual. It was really enjoyable watching Paul feed it to Alex about not catching any fish on day one, and Alex being the master net boy. So shout out to that one. I'm sure Alex bounced back on Sunday, so I'll be looking forward to this podcast to hear where that went. So
fair enough.
Over to you, Declan.
Yeah, I'll do it again. I'd like to thank Elizabeth for Dan because he's missed her both times. So
she won't listen to a podcast.
Well, I know, but I'm still going to do the right thing. And my partner at home, Layla, she allows me to go and do all this sort of stuff. And yeah, she's very tolerating. of what I do, and it's been going on for a fair while now. So, and yeah, Dan especially, we may shit stir each other a little bit. We get along all right, and we have a good time, and we bounce off things, and usually one picks up the other's slack when something's not quite working. So, yeah, it's not really spoken about, but it works pretty well.
Sounds pretty good to me. All right, guys. Look, thanks for coming on the show again. Congratulations, and I'll talk to you next time.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew.
Righto. So up next in second place, we have a team dropping 5 fish for 6.135 with a big fish of 1.690, backing it up on the Sunday with 5 fish for 5.260, which also included a big fish of 1.65, giving them 10 fish in total for 11.4. And second place, I have Team Lowrance Miller Rods, Alex Franchuk and Paul Malov. Welcome back to the show, guys.
Thanks, Dathy. Thanks for having us back.
Thank you, Andrew. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, it's good to see you both. And it looks like you guys had a pretty good weekend together.
Oh, we always do. We always do when we're away for a comp, and just been fortunate enough to get on the podium again. It's 2 second-place finishes in the last 2 boating comps. So it's been good, but we'd like that number 1 next time, maybe.
Fair enough. Having said that, if I got offered second in the start, I would take it every time.
For sure.
Very good.
We're not complaining.
No.
Second's pretty good going. Now, tell us about pre-fish. Did you guys get down there and have a bit of a look around?
We did. So we got it, and feel free to jump in at any time, Dad. But Dad had obviously done the ABT there, 3.5 weeks ago. And then I did a day on the way up to Bem, out of there in the kayak, and that fished really well. And so we had a bit of an idea of what I thought was going to happen or how it was going to play, but there's a lot of water condition changes between the kind of that BEM time frame and this past weekend, and the bite really did change in the straits. I think going into it, I suggested that we spend the whole day down there and try and explore just more and more areas. And I'd heard that Paynesville and Jetty kind of area was probably fishing a bit slower than it could, and the numbers and the size are probably down when it's at its peak. And so the idea was to just expand and get out of the actual straits and just fish a lot of the banks around that whole area, because the fish do move around a lot in that general area. That was really the plan, and that's what we kind of did on pre-fish, and just fished a lot of shallow stuff, tried to find some isolated cover. And so I guess the Americans will always kind of refer to it, but any standing timber, anything like that we could find on shallow banks, that's what we try to target on Friday.
And when you're in this sort of searching mode, what sort of lures are you taking with you? You got everything? What's your plan there?
Yeah, so we had 21 rods on board between Dad and I, so 21 millers.
That's what I was going to say, 21 millers.
21 millers, yeah,
so you
21 miller combos.
Could get a second mortgage for that.
Correct. There's a house deposit there probably.
Yeah.
I am fortunate enough to get a little bit of help from Paul and also a little bit of second-hand rods going my way.
Fair enough.
So I'm very fortunate, I'm telling
Yeah.
you. And those were not the last for all the rods from my garage. It was like a focus targeted 11 rods with me.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, and this is right off topic, my dad used to do that. My dad used to go, "Oh, that's a nice rod." Yeah. Do you like it? Yeah.
Do you want
it? He's like, yeah. And then, funnily enough, they all came back. So there you go.
Yeah. But yeah, we had a full range because we knew we'd try and fish structure inside, and it was a variety of techniques. So obviously, for those that have listened in recent weeks and recent years, the big thing, and that those that again watched the weigh-ins over the weekend, was hard bodies. So a lot of people fishing hards, and especially things such as the Daiwa spikes, the 44s and 53s, the OSP dunks, and Daiwa double clutches, and obviously the Hurricane Twitch 40s and 50s.
Okay.
So Dad and I had a variety of things tied on: chubbies, spikes, dunks, sprats, clone prawns, wave minnows. Wave minnows, yeah. Anything else, Dad? And blades, had rods ready for blades and stick minnows as well. So we really just try to cover all our bases. I threw a muss, a lot. Threw a crab around a bit as well. So really just try to cover all our bases and just have rods for technique-specific combos and for particular leader sizes to be able to fish a bit lighter when you're out in the open on the flats, and then have to go up a bit heavier, just because there's been so much shell growth or barnacle growth on the timber in that region. It's been a lot saltier of late in the last probably year or two.
Okay. So then after pre-fish, so you took out 21 rods. Did you leave any on the bank? Like, did you cut out some techniques?
I don't know, Dad, did you end up leaving any at the house, or did you take all of them?
I left 2 on Saturday and I left another one on Sunday. So on Sunday I fished 3 rods less. So
Dad had 8
rods on
and
there.
I had 9.
Yeah.
Yeah, so not many. We still tried to cover all our bases. It just makes it a lot easier to pick up another rod instead of sitting down to retie.
Sure.
Just feels a bit more efficient. While it's cluttered, there's a lot of advantages to doing it too, I guess.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, it's not only a leader size that you may retie on a particular rod and reel, it's also a balanced outfit. We try to keep those balanced outfits, like the 2000 series reel on a lighter rod and 2.5, 3000 series reel on a heavier rod, and hence the same with the braid. 0.06 PE on the lighter rods and up to 1 PE on the heavier rods, and the same with the leaders. So it's not just, we started when we had 3 rods each. We retie at times when we need it, but now, these days, it just saves you time. It's nothing about being able to. It's all focused, it's all thought about.
Yeah, so it's about being organised. And I think these are some of the tips which help people to keep appearing in the top half of the field, or the pointy end.
I think so. I think there's definitely a kind of theme, I guess, or a similar mindset. And a lot of anglers have gone that way. I think it's very rare for a lot of anglers to either run less than 5 now, I feel, from what I've kind of observed, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, no, I think that's accurate.
Yeah.
All right. Let's roll into Saturday. Tell us about how your day started and how you went about catching your fish.
So Saturday we started just rolling dunks and spikes in the straits, and I think we got we had 2 fish for a kilo. I think that was about right, wasn't it, Dad? By about 8. It was like 470 and like a 530 for an even kilo.
Yeah, it was. And actually, Paul caught both of them. I didn't even catch any.
Yeah.
But we used different colors. I know we used different colors, and I'm sure that fish preferred one color over the other.
Yeah. I'm just trying to find the dunk of choice, like that greeny, sparkly, matte finish.
Yeah, a little bit.
Usually the mess of lures.
So it's almost a chartreuse colour.
Yeah, almost. Just a good contrast in that slightly dirty water at Hollands.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, so
you got 2 in the well relatively early.
We did. We had a couple of other hits, but Dad got a nice fish there on the Friday at pre-fish on a spike, just slow rolling. And
probably 900 grams.
Yeah, 900 to a kilo, and then just didn't have that quality. The tide was probably pushing in maybe a little bit harder, or the fish had just moved around a little bit, as they often do in that place. And we bumped it to Dan and Declan, and I think they had 2 small ones and a half decent one at that point. But it definitely wasn't on fire for what we were both doing. And Dad and I just decided to go and hit another area that we found on Friday and just fished shallow timber outside, both with chubbies. Chubbies, and Dad was throwing the wave minnow on a little weedless setup.
Yeah.
And I got a decent fish early. I think it was like around that 800 gram mark on a chubby. And then for whatever reason, I just decided to pick up a crab and throw that around a bit, and got a nice fish around 1.1.
Okay.
On the shallow timber, and Dad lost a really nice fish that really made a mess of his jig head.
Right. Tell us about that, Alex.
Well, I had a hit on a wave minnow, and it was proper hit. Before that, I had 2 times they nibbled the tail, but they didn't sort of commit. So I thought, oh, it's a smaller fish. But sometimes we believe that it's like a bite on a day. Even if it's a big fish, they just nipping on the tail without committing. So I had twice been pantsed, as we call it. So they pulled the plastic halfway off the hook. And then on the third one, I had really proper hit. And I said, that was good hit. I definitely believe it was a good fish. And then next cast, he hit it like a train and started running. And, I'm trying to wind it up, pull it with a net and a little bit of commotion on the boat, kicking around 18 rods or whatever we had. And then pulled the hooks, obviously disappointed. But when I look on the jig head, the hook was completely folded back. So it was folded inside. We believe that it sucked the lure, crushed it, and then just spat.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was really good indicator that there is a good fish around us. And then Pulse 1.3 cemented that feel. But I'm telling you the truth, after those being twice pantsed, we thought it's time to go, to leave.
Yeah, we were really close to leaving the area.
Unfortunately,
right.
We were so close to leaving it.
For some odd reason, as it happens all the time, we said, okay, couple of more casts, so let's finish at that tea tree, which was like 20 meters away. And this is where it's all started.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really kind of meant to be, to figure it out. Yeah. And because on the Friday, we only caught 2 fish, and they were like 700 grams tops. And I had a really good hit on the paws and the chubby, and it opened up my split ring and pulled the chubby out.
Okay.
Just assumed it was a faulty split ring or like a well-used one that I had. Sorry, not a split ring, a lure clip.
Yeah.
And had taken the lure, but I didn't think too much of it. Didn't know what kind of caliber of fish were in there because it was just on the take and it was just all gone. I'm like, oh, shit, what's happened here? And wound it in and saw that. So we never really got a chance to see the potential of that area on Friday. And as Dad rightly pointed out, we were, 5 casts away, 10 minutes away from pulling the pin on it and just going somewhere else. But we just plugged away and figured out little bits and pieces and fished some shallow isolated timber around that flat in that area. And we did quite well on it and just pulled a couple of upgrades.
Mm-hmm.
Had a good run of 3 good fish. And then the next 5, I think we blew up.
Right. Okay. So you got 3 fish. You're both on crabs now, or?
No, it was just a combination of stuff. We're throwing plastics, we're throwing crabs, we're throwing hard bodies around that area. Yeah.
Okay.
I was still using plastics.
Yeah.
So you bombed 5 in a row.
We bombed 5 in a row. There was some epic obliterations.
Okay.
Fish jumping out of the water, fish going under logs, over logs, behind logs. Pulled hooks probably on a couple that we've forgotten about as well. It's just, and the ones that there was like 2 in particular, spectacular ones. One that Dad cast in nice and tight to a bit of timber and just went, yep, there's a hit. And then you see the black and gold thing just jumping out of the water. Like we both went, whoa. And it's gone under and just found a log. Just pop 8 or 10 pound leader. But we both just looked at each other and just went, that was big. And then I had one as well. Just, I didn't even know. Like as soon as the lure hit the water, it grabbed it, ran around a tree. I managed to free spool. I got on the electric, ran over to it, tried to free it. And then by that time, it had gone around the tree, under, and then through some other branches and was splashing 10, 15 meters away on the surface trying to throw the lure, shake the lure off. So we're trying to see the braid, see if we can get the braid. It was just an absolute mess. But this thing was so angry. Like I know I mentioned it at the briefing, but there was just a couple of epic bust-offs.
And the thing is, Andrew, it was so shallow. We were fishing really shallow.
Yeah, right.
We almost saw all the fish we lost. It's not like, I think it was a big fish.
We know.
There was no, I think. We saw the fish jumping either out of water or getting drilled us near the boat or running away, and we couldn't stop it.
Wow.
We almost saw them all.
Yeah.
So
there was one that Dad was just holding on the, I think it was on the Bass Freak XH on one of them, which is a 4 to 8 kilo Miller rods.
Okay.
And a 3,000 reel and 20-pound braid. And it was probably like this far off timber, and it's just trying to hold it. Just obliterated again. So it's just this rod's just bent right over. And so there's, as Dad said, there's some, we definitely know there's some big fish in that area. So, but everyone loses fish.
That's part of it. It's part of fish instruction too.
That's it.
So tell us, so you've had 5 unfortunate incidents in a row.
Yes.
How do you reset?
I don't think we ended up getting in. I think we're already done. We already had that 6.1 by the time we got to the bus stops.
Okay.
Dad, would you agree? I don't think we upgraded anything late that day. I think we were done.
You're right.
Yeah.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
Unless, we got rid of the smaller fish earlier.
Yeah.
We upgraded them, and he caught 1.68, whatever.
1.69, yeah.
Yeah.
And that was on 8 pound and the Bass Freak M.
Yeah.
But that was one of the 3 that came out. And then the next 5, goodbye.
But you're not too worried about losing so many fish when you have 6.15 kilos in the bag. Then you think, okay, we know there is a good fish there. Tomorrow is another day. So we were hoping that we can sort of capitalize on knowledge and try to do the very similar thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if anything, I tried to go and beef up the leaders and the combos and try and have a slightly different outcome with mixed results on day 2.
Day 2. Well, so you've got 6.135, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think from memory you're in second place.
We were.
On
we were just ahead of a couple of teams right around that 6 kilo mark. And then Josh and Connor were way out with 6.86, I think, whatever they had.
Yeah. Yeah, but based on the discussion we've just had you landed a few more, you would have been there, I'd imagine.
I would have been in the 7s, if not high 7s or early 8s.
Yeah, well, all right, let's leave that alone.
Yeah. Let's
move on to day 2. So you went back in the night, you beefed up your leaders.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us how day 2 played out, and how did the leaders affect that?
Well, we had a bit of a change of plan first thing in the morning. We didn't start in the straits. We went out into the lake and just fished some structure a couple of kilometres away. And Dad and I threw everything at these fish. You could see them on active target, on forward facing or forward mode, sitting up quite high in the structure. And we threw like a regular size muss, a little muss on 3 pounds straight through a Hurricane Sprat 75 in a variety of colours.
And a crab.
And a cranker crab, but not a touch.
Right.
We could not get bit.
And you could see them.
Yeah, we knew they were sitting up. We knew they were there.
Well, we saw them. We were casting in at them.
Yeah, wow.
I picked up a clone prawn, and within about 3 casts, I got busted off, retied. Next bite, my leader popped for whatever reason. So I either nipped it too close, whatever it might be, or I struck too hard. Might have just got that excited and anxious that I just went.
Belted it.
Yeah. And sat down and went, right, let me just get the brawler out on 6 pound. Let me just retie this and do this again. And Dad put one on as well. And we proceeded to pull 3 fish and miss another couple of bites. But it was and also threw a stick minnow, I think, maybe. But it did. But it was incredible to see that we recycled through 5 or 6 lures for not a touch, and then you put in a specific lure, that clone prawn in jelly prawn colour.
In jelly prawn.
The 62 mil as the winners had also thrown, and the response from the fish was instantaneous.
Yeah, wow.
That is what they wanted at that time, at that particular day.
Wow. Okay. So there's a couple of parts to that. First of all, you've got your active target, so you know they're in there, and then you've also persisted. You haven't thought, okay, they're just not biting, move on. You've actually cycled through a bit of stuff to find out what's happening.
We did, yeah.
Wow.
One of the reasons, Andrew, was that we tried to persevere in that particular location was my findings during the ABT pre-fish, where I was in a different area, however. But again, I saw the fish on an active target on Friday or whatever it was, I think it was Monday, the first day of the ABT pre-fish. And I saw the fish there. I threw the muss, I threw the crab for absolutely no any reaction, no bite, no anything. They didn't want a sniff of it. As soon as I put Hurricane Spread 75 in, I think, machete color, instantaneously, boom. So I landed, I think, 2 fish because it was a pre-fish. I didn't want to catch too many in that location, but it just shows you as soon as you change the lure, and this is something they wanted, they hit it. And this is why when we saw a fish on a Sunday with Paul, we knew Paul was telling me all the time, they're just not biting. But because we cycled through the lures of having experience at ABT, he finally went for the prawn and then boom.
Yeah, wow. Okay. With the clone prawn, what hooks were you, what you have it rigged on?
We were running Gamakatsu round 25s in a size 2 in a 1/20th kind of weight.
Okay. And you said you changed to the 6 pound. Was that what you kind of were running at that point?
I think I was running 5, assuming that it's going to be pretty clear in that area because it's well away from the straits and typically a lot clearer. And that's why I even had the 3 pound and the 4 pound straight through set up for Dad for that particular situation, because we were kind of assuming or hoping that we'd be able to get those fish on like little musses and things like that, the typical, structure kind of stuff. But because of the way that they ate and those first 2 missed fish and the bust off that I had and the sharp barnacles again, we just felt like if they were going to eat, and they were scoffing those prawns on 6 pound, no worries. So just gave us a bit more pulling power to get them out. And they fought really hard, actually. A couple of times I really felt like I was going to get done and had to work hard to get them out.
Yeah. Okay. I find that really interesting. Now, I want to dive back into the active target. So I'm assuming that you did the update last week?
I didn't. I held off.
Oh,
I'll be very honest.
Okay. All right. You're in for a good treat when you do that, because my experience is way better.
Okay.
Talk to me about, so you're in forward mode.
Yes.
How far out are you running it?
We normally set it to 20 meters ahead and depth just on auto. But I do bump up my contrast to +10.
Okay.
So I really have quite a hot picture. But what that does is just allows us to see a bit further out and just get a better return. So you put up with a bit more clutter on the screen, but definitely see a lot more fish and a lot more bright and vibrant.
Okay. And just a heads up, those settings are going to change when you do your update.
Yeah, fair enough. I'll have to bump it down by the sound of it. I think they might have...
It's a remarkable difference.
Yeah, okay.
Be my experience. So,
no, it's good.
And we also saw fish away from the structure on the flat, which was next to that structure. And no matter where, not no matter, but probably in the 45-degree sector, we saw a fish like 10, 15 meters away in good clusters, but they didn't want to eat. It was shallow. We were throwing spikes and chubbies.
Threw the clone prawn at them as well and couldn't get one to eat.
Yeah.
That's bizarre. And when you were in clusters, were they like in groups of 5 or
no,
3?
Like twos and threes.
Yeah, okay.
But they were a good size.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. All right. What'd you do after that? Where'd you head off to?
So we left there with 3 fish for right around 2 kilos and then made a run across that, I guess, from one side of that region to the other. and then just fished some undercut banks. And then I pulled two fish on a crab, both around that 600 gram mark. So nothing spectacular, but it just rounded out our bag, and I think we're at around that 3.2 mark.
Yeah.
And then we bailed out of there as well. We probably hit it for half an hour. It's known it could be a big fish spot. And then we just said, right, let's just go back to our shallow water timber from the previous day and just concentrate there. And I think when we first pulled in either the first one, on the first one, we got an upgrade. It was like a 900. So we threw like a 470 or a 500 out for a 900. I think, was there a 1.1, Dad? Maybe. Yeah, I think there was. Oh, I've got the scales actually. If you guys talk amongst yourselves for 2 seconds,
enough.
let me just get the scales out, and I can tell you.
There was a lot less fish in those locations where we were on Saturday. So we tried, obviously, because we knew we can pick them up, but they weren't there. You can't see them on the active target because they are deep in timber and it's very shallow, so it's very hard to see them.
Yeah.
And there was no reason for us to look for those fish on the active target. We just cast on the bank.
Yeah. All right. So I've got the scales. So I know that one of Dad's first fish was like an 800. So when we got in there, we upgraded the second fish, which was one of my small ones, for a 900.
Yep.
And then the last fish that we caught, our fifth fish at the previous spot, we upgraded that with a 1.1.
Okay.
Which got us to 4.2 kilos. And then we pulled the hooks on a couple of fish. I got absolutely steamrolled by something. It ate like over there, and it went this way with just zero chance of stopping it, changing momentum, turning its head. It was just the fastest running fish I'd ever seen. I'm just trying to keep up with it. Got tight again, and it just kept going.
Wow.
Dad and I just looked at one another and just went, what the heck was that? Like, zero chance. Absolutely none.
No.
And then what was that?
No, the leader was shredded to pieces. It was like nothing you can do really about it.
No, there was nothing we could do. Never saw it, but I just stayed deep and just found the next bit of timber. And then shortly thereafter, I got another good bite and just went hard on this fish, and everything stayed together, stayed connected. I pulled out of like a 1.2, 15 minutes prior, just pulled the hooks, just didn't eat it right. And I managed to get a 1.65. So I just went hard on it. Everything stayed together, kept it out of the timber, kept its head up, and Dad got the net under it really quickly. And so that kicked out a 680 for a 1.65.
Yeah, wow. That's pretty good.
Mm.
And that last fish was like at 1 o'clock, and normally we leave the place at 1:15, so it was almost on
It was
the
very
last
handy.
cast.
We were just fishing to the death, and
15 minutes away.
Yeah, wow. So I'm looking at it. So you basically put a kilo on.
That's what really helped get us from that 4.2 bag to a 5.2 and keep us in second, which was, it was really handy.
Yeah, that's massive difference in the scorecard as well.
Yeah. It's that kind of place where you can have a bag of 600s and then you just get the odd 1.7, 1.75, 1.5, and you can quickly make 800-900 kilo upgrades. It's incredible, but they're also quite spread out. So you would have seen, and I probably made a comment that there was so many teams that just had that one kicker.
Yeah.
It was a bag of 35s and then a 42 or a 44.
Yeah.
And it was just really hard to put 2, 3, 4 of them together in a bag. And those that did were obviously up the pointy end with Josh and Connor and Dan and Declan having that incredible day 2 bag.
Yeah, that's it. They came back with a boom.
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And look, the type of structure you're fishing, you don't have the luxury of the fish running deep. They're going to run sideways through whatever they can find.
Correct.
Exactly.
That's what we spoke about just before we started the interview. But unfortunately, with that kind of style of fishing, that's the only place they've got to go. So
Yeah.
We'll work on trying to refine our approach to them in future years.
Mate, you're going to have to go all Brett Geddes, mate. You're going to have to go up to 17 pound and go run with that.
I was running 14.
More.
Higher. More.
Fair enough. All right. Is there anything else that we should discuss with regards to the fishing? Is there anything we haven't covered that we should?
Just the fact that we spent a good hour on the drive back on Friday, and I was really, I don't know if Dad mentioned this, but I was pretty certain that the winning fish weren't there after Friday, after pre-fish.
Yeah. Okay.
I was almost talking us out of going back. I'm like, oh, what if we go and try the Painesville thing and just risk it, or go and do the Meetung thing and try and just hit structure and jetties and, what we do otherwise as well.
Yeah. And I have done well.
And Dad's like, oh, look, no, I think if we just chip away at it, we might do okay. And yeah, we did in the end. We ended up turning it around, as he said. Bit of luck, bit of just, I don't know, knowledge of that area and just adapting to that situation, I guess.
Well, if I make a point, as a team we fished, I don't know, since 2005 or 2007 with Paul, and we learned how to communicate with each other, okay? In the early days, we say, no, I don't want to hear this. We go to Painesville. This couple of last years, or past years, we always talk, we always try to present pros and cons for each scenario. We're not trying to convince the person, which we're just outlining the facts, and let's make that person make decision. Because at the end of the day, I always say to Paul, you take me wherever you want, I'll be fishing there. I'm not arguing because I'm just happy to be on the water. I'll cast my lure wherever you take me. And sometimes it works, sometimes it's not. But this particular time, he had on the back of his mind his good success on the way to Bam River. He did not the pre-fish, he stopped at Painesville and he caught really good fish. And I had some good fish or good result, and also other people had good result in Holland. So we know one day it may fish not well, the next day it may fish really well. So in discussion, we came up with a plan, let's go back to Holland on Saturday.
Yeah,
which obviously paid off pretty well.
For sure.
And I mean, this is the whole thing with fishing and competition fishing. You kind of live and die on your decisions. And it's only in hindsight you can know whether it was right or wrong.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, it worked out really well in the end. And as Dad said, it was just a good conversation and just kind of went back and forth and, yeah, made the right call in the end for sure.
And, on the way back, I guess on Saturday, driving back from Hollands to Meetung, we spent probably another 20 minutes talking to each other, discussing the angle of the rod, the flexibility of the rod, and the friction of the braid through the guides, thinking why we lost so many fish.
Was there anything we could do differently?
Yeah.
How could we improve?
Were we using stiffer rods instead of much more giving rods, or should we do something different? I don't know. We fished almost lock drag.
Yeah,
that's the thing. You can't afford to let them give them a centimeter.
Run. You can't let them run. Basically.
Yeah. That's a hard discussion, and it's hard to know what's right, because what's going to be right today is probably not going to be right tomorrow, because they might take it differently, or who knows? They might just be a bit more relaxed.
Exactly.
Yeah, but this time they were just crazy.
There's a lot of stories like that. And, I had a really good chat with Peter Howell. And what Pete kind of touched on was that, potentially it was the fact that we're using quite stiff rods and going hard on them just made them go even harder, because they are big fish as well. So they've got that power. But he goes, they used a slightly softer rod. And he goes, a lot of the fish just reacted with that kind of head shaking response once they were hooked, but it allowed them time to get those fish out. Again, mind you, I think they were fishing slightly deeper areas, but the concept makes sense. So whether we can try and adapt that into some of the areas that we fish, we'll definitely be giving it a go in some socials to try and see if that makes a difference. So that was cool and something I hadn't really considered, but then also saw some of the posts from Josh and Connor today as at the end of the event, and some of the rods that they used were typically what Miller Rod's Grub Freak is something that I'd associate with like flats fishing or out in the open fishing, and would never use a Grub Freak to throw in the straits themselves around structure.
Yeah, wow.
They ran, like Connor was saying, 8 or 10 pound leaders, and they got those fish out. They pulled some hooks, but perhaps that softer approach also just, got those fish to come out a bit more gentle. And then once they're out in the clear, they just fought them and got them up. So definitely something to consider.
Yeah, something you're going to have to take notice of as you're fishing. My mate Luke Kay, he talks about, I can't remember what rod he's got. He's got a rod, and he said if you catch a kilo fish on it, it pretty much just shakes its head or just goes from side to side. It doesn't do runs.
Yeah, right.
So something you're going to have to take note when they just shake their head. Which rod are you running?
Well, and I was speaking to Callum Dow today too, and Dowley said that at one point he, for a particular technique and area, he went to 5 pounds straight through, and that had a similar effect, and his ability to get those fish out dramatically increased after going to a 5 pound straight through approach.
Yeah.
Bit of that stretch without going so hard on them with the braid and leader combo really helped to soften their response.
Yeah. Well, there you go. 12 months worth of research in front of you.
A little bit less. The grand final's there this year. So
okay.
We'll see.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. Listen, I reckon that's a pretty great rundown.
Just a quick one. I was thinking I should have mentioned. On all of our boats, Paul and I are running VT2 ventilation inserts into the lid of the tank. And what it does, it removes the stale air from the underneath between the water and the lid of the tank and supplies the fresh air when the boat is moving. So having a really long drive from Hollands to Meetung, those vents help enormously, I believe. We try to always stop near the Mitchell or even the Meetung and add probably a bucket of water, because water stays pretty well in the well. But fish, unbelievably healthy. It's so good.
Okay.
But we're still running aerators too.
Yeah, but it just helps with that gas exchange.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say that's very foreign to me.
Very, very, very handy. Carl Jocumsen, Brendan Polonic, G-Man, they're all running those VT2s.
Live well vents.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Well, that's something. Yeah, that's a cool tip. All right. Second place. What do you guys get to take home?
$12.50 each, so $2,500 for the team.
Nice. That's a very good result.
Yes, the wife loves it.
Fair enough. This is a good thing. Everyone wins.
It does soften the return a lot. It helps.
Absolutely.
I think it's a common theme. All right, very good. All right, look, guys, listen, it's been great talking. Last thing before we shoot off, is there anyone you want to give a shout out to or say thank you to?
Yeah, if I can start. There's a few companies and a few people to give a shout out to, but as always, Ian Miller and Travis at Miller Rods, team at Navico and Lowrance. I've been with them for, I think this is my 14th year now with the Navico and Lowrance family. So huge thanks to them. Scotty Lovig at SLH Hobie, Chris at GFAB, Steve at tackleaddiction.com.au. So he's got a fantastic store with a great range, and he's got a lot of hard to find stuff as well that he brings in. So just had the OSP dice and a few other really unique, cool lures, and a really, really good range. So, and great service with Steve as well. So big thanks to him. Always great chat and super fast service, getting stuff out to us. And Marty at Burley Pro, of course, last but not least. Big thanks to Marty.
The Brim Lord.
The Brim Lord, exactly. He really showed me how to catch brim at BEM.
Fair enough. He was the only one that had a reclined kayak seat. He looked like he was ready for a nap.
I think he had a very long nap on the Saturday, is my understanding. But anyway, no, Marty's an absolute champion and a lovely fella, and he's always been very supportive from the early days. So big thanks to him as well. And obviously to Dad. Just love our trips away, love spending time with him, and doing well is just a bit of a bonus for us, I think. So I really just enjoyed the process over the weekend while it wasn't first place, but I think just discovering and unlocking something new and trying some different things was still a lot of fun. While it was like what could have been, but we had a great time anyway, personally. Dad?
Yeah.
I was going to mention quickly my ABT second day non-boater Grayson Fong, who gave me a couple of really good tips on how to use spikes in the areas where he never fished before. And he caught really, really nice fish at ABT round. Unfortunately, I'm standing next to him catching small ones, and he was catching pretty good ones. And he was kind enough to donate a couple of lures to me. And yeah, I used those spikes too, and I caught really nice fish on a spike on a pre-fish day. So thanks to Grayson. Again, Paul, as you would understand, my favorite son and the only son. So we fished for many, many years, and we enjoy the company of each other, and we will be fishing for as long as we can. Thanks to you, Andrew. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, we always appreciate and love having a chat. It means we've had a good weekend.
Absolutely. Yeah, look, thanks for coming on, guys, and sharing. Congratulations on another great result. Good luck in the next one.
Thank you very much. Looking forward to Malakuta.
Thanks, Andrew.
Okay, and then coming in first position, we have Team Zero Technique. And let me tell you, we're going to be getting into that. However, they dropped 5 fish for 6.860 on day 1, which was the biggest bag for the comp. Backing it up on day 2 with 5 fish for 4.950 and a little bit of a late penalty, giving them 10 fish for 11.81 and the win by 400 grams maybe. I have Josh and Jeffrey. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thanks, Andrew. Thanks for having us on.
Thank you.
All right, let's start with the first thing. What's going on with Team Zero Technique? What's that? Well, who's going to answer that with regards to the name?
I'll let Josh start on that.
Might as well. So it's interesting. Over the last year or two, we've really, every end of the season, we're just like, is this name for us? And we don't like it. And we've been through chopping and changing and hasn't really been us. And going into this, we kind of just like, look, let's just sit down and I'm going to put you with 100 different names, right? And we're just going to mix it around, jumble it up and have a bit of fun and just see what kind of clicks and what sounds good.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, that was one of them with the zero. I liked zero. And then we kind of like, okay, we like that. So what do we put with that?
Right. Is that you guys from now on?
It's going to have to be, I think.
I believe so. It's going to have to be, yeah. I think so.
Fair enough. It was an interesting name.
Yeah, and when he says that we went through 100 names, like picking and choosing 100 names, it was pretty much sitting there with a list of 100 names going, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. Oh, we like these 10. And then it was kind of just narrowed down into just one name at the end of it.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. It'll be interesting if you end up with sponsors because you'll be like Zero Technique Atomic or Zero Technique Miller Rods. So we'll see.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into it. So first of all, congratulations. Like this is a monumental win. And I know there's a little bit of, you had some challenges. So let's start with the pre-fish. Did you guys get out and have a look around leading into the comp or on the Friday?
Yeah, we started because my first time getting there and, it was obviously Gippsland Lakes is such a massive place and you can get stuck in how vast and big it is and just end up as racing around and not actually doing much fishing time. So on pre-fish, we're just like, look, let's just got some areas we want to check out and see if there's fish there. And we're just like, well, we're just going to cover some ground and fish cranks, various different lures, see what comes up. And yeah, basically if we get bigger fish, we'll fish that. And if we get smaller ones, then we keep that in mind. It could be a bag filler, you know?
Yeah, fair enough. And leading into comp day, did you have a good plan laid out, or were you a little bit, we'll see what happens, or how was that?
So, funnily enough, on comp day, before comp day, at the end of the pre-fish, we were pretty much sitting there going, do we stick it out with Hollands, or do we go elsewhere, or launch elsewhere for the day? And then we ended up just going, nah, stuff it, let's just stick with Hollands. We know what we know there. So we just stuck with Hollands, and it worked out for us in the end.
Yeah, fair enough. In terms of lures and stuff, were you thinking about hard bodies or plastics, or just have a mix of everything, or what that looked like?
We knew it was a prawn bite coming into the comp. One of my good mates, Shane Greaves, who was staying with at Tyres, he's been doing a lot of fishing in the lake, and he's been, funny enough, just showing us stuff. Like, he does a lot of flooded fishing, and he's showing us a lot of photos and all that. So we're like, well, the fish are surely got to be eaten on the prawns. So if we do a prawn imitation, and it just so happened to be one of the Pro Lure clone prawns that we had, and we're like, well, that's going to work. And it did on pre-fish, but we didn't know how well, but we hadn't tried it out yet until on the day one.
All right. So leading into the Saturday, tell us a little bit about your day and how you went about catching your first fish, maybe.
Yeah, well, we knew it was a prawn bite going into day one, mainly from our good friend Shane Greaves, who was kind enough to let us stay over the weekend, which was good. And he's been to a lot of fishing in the lake, and we thought, well, the prawns have been running, and that's what's been getting coughed up by all the flathead and bream and stuff. So, well, let's just throw that around and see if it works, and just fish a really light soft plastic style kind of fishing with a light jig head. And it was not until about 9 o'clock we got our first fish and landed, and we had bites and stuff and opportunities. But it was about 9 o'clock when we got our first fish, and then they started to come pretty quick from after that.
Okay. Did you get good quality straight up, or did it start slow? How'd that look?
Yeah, it was pretty good quality straight away. 1.4s, 1.5s. We were pretty ecstatic, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
And a few of the boys heard us having a few celebrations. Probably in the future, we probably should keep a little bit to a minimum, but it meant a lot to us to be able to get that caliber size fish, for sure.
100%. 100%. Okay. So you haven't got one weight in there for big bream. So it was 1.4, 1.5 kind of about as big as you ended up getting?
I think one of the biggest, I think on day one we had two big fish. Like they were 45, 46 in terms of their length. I think they were pushing 1.6, maybe even 1.7.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think we got away, and did we, on those ones?
No. Okay. What sort of structure were you fishing? Are you fishing edges, or are you fishing
deep and heavy structure, like on the bank, just under really heavy structure?
Right.
Yeah, like hard up on the bank.
So is it a matter of pitch it in, twitch it out, and when you hit them, just hold on, or
pretty much just reef them out as hard as you could? Yeah, essentially, just get them out of there.
I like it. All right. And so then the question is, what sort of lines and leaders were you running to do that?
Do you want to talk about that, Joshy? Or?
We're running 10 pound in the Daiwa X-Link. We fished 8 it was 7 actually on pre-fish, and that wasn't
that bit us. That bit us in the ass.
Yeah, it did. And we ended up switching to 10 pound because I said to him, I was like, we're not going to get these fish out unless you lock up on them and pull them out pretty much with 10. But we still got bitten off on 10 pound. Like, it was just enough, like the size of the fish and how they were feeding, and it worked getting them out. We had enough pressure to bring them, out of the structure. Yeah, you can help getting bitten off by them. That was just amazing, really.
Yeah, okay.
I've never been bitten off by a bream on 10 pound before, that's for sure.
Wow.
But that happened multiple times throughout the first day. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's interesting, because for that to happen, they've got to have it a long way down. Like, they've got to really have it.
We thought our theory with it was they're hitting the knot with the teeth, and just the crunch, is just popping it. That could be one of the theories, but
Yeah, wow. Wow. I was going to say it's one down that way, down in Ancuda as well, is one of the systems where I think bream do tend to bite you off a little bit more than maybe other systems around the country.
In Cuda, we noticed that too, but we're fishing lighter line in Cuda, like 5 and 6 pound, even 4 at times. And we've had bream bite us off a fair bit, actually.
Yeah, yeah. In terms of lures, was there a standout?
The clone prawn, 62 mil and jelly prawn, that was the standout.
Okay. That's interesting. That's interesting. And did it take you long to work that out? Did you cycle through a few plastics to get there, or you just landed on it?
It was pretty much the go-to from the get-go, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, very cool.
We did throw around some of the Munros 2.75 and Swarf early on, but we just weren't confident with just, following that through when we already had something that was working really well. So it's like, let's just stick to that and just to see it out because it's working, and you don't want to drop something that's already working and getting fish.
100%. All right. So you ended up dropping a bag of 6.86. When in the day did you have that? Did you fill that bag early and then, or were you getting it right at the end of the day?
That was like towards 11:30 we got that bag?
I think by 11:30, yeah.
I think it was 11:30 because then you called Bill asking if we could weigh it in like straight away because we were just like, what do we do now?
That's something I guess you don't really get to experience.
Think about
having a bag by before 12. I was more concerned about the fish because they're such big, healthy black bream. It's just like the last thing you want to do is have one die on you. We end up interchanging the water about 3 times, and we end up just fishing cranks and flats to have a bit of fun.
Yeah, okay. It's a great bag, and to upgrade it, although definitely possible, is becoming more and more likely the bigger the bag gets. So yeah. All right. You went back to the weigh-in. You've obviously got the biggest bag. How was that overnight? Are you guys nervous, or are you happy, or what's it look like for you guys?
Well, that just pretty much just shot confidence up through the roof. But we're still sitting there going, can we replicate that the next day? Is it going to happen again? Like, are they going to be on the same bite?
And what were you just think, or what conclusion did you come to? It's going to happen, or?
It was a bit of a mixed emotions about that one.
Fair enough. It is hard to lead, especially with such a big bag.
Oh yeah,
we
kind of thought that we might get a little harassed on day 2 by credit to the competitors, and no one really followed us, and they kind of respected our space on day 2, and that meant a lot. It kind of shows the kind of people they are.
Yeah.
And also we had a fair bit of support as well going to day 2 because we don't want to put pressure on yourself. You don't want to choke, and you don't want to get the spot and just start panicking and then lose confidence in what you're doing. That's why I was like, I didn't sleep. We'll say that. So I was thinking about it, but when it came to it, I was really locked in and just really wanted to stay focused and have fun, because that's what got us the bag on day 1, was having fun and enjoying our company and doing what we love doing, which is pitching, casting, skip casting, and pulling big fish out of timber.
Yeah, nice. One thing I forgot to ask. So we've got the 10-pound leader running. What jig heads do you have in the clone prawns?
So we both were running 2 different jig heads. He was using, we use the Berkeley Nitros.
Yeah, and the 124s.
Yeah, and then I was using the TT headlocks in 120s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So not crazy heavy.
No, not crazy heavy, but I was using size 2 hooks, so tiny hooks.
Yeah, little hooks.
Yeah,
and you were using ones?
Ones, yeah.
Yeah, he was using ones.
And do you straighten any?
I don't remember if we did or not.
Yeah, okay.
On fish. On snags, definitely. Snags is inevitable.
Oh, the snags were off their head.
Yeah. I reckon we hooked snags every second cast almost. Like that's the kind of fishing it was. Like, you just got to persist.
Yep. Let's go out on day 2. A couple of dramas. Tell us about your day. Tell us how you filled your bag and what happened.
Yeah, it took us an hour because we were leaving from Tyres and we had to go get our key tag from Meetong. So up at 4:30, have to be gone 10 to 5 really. And went and got our key tag and went through Bairnsdale, got to the turn off, got the Hollands, and just pretty much a routine to the similar day, and just went in the water and waited there. Definitely leaving first because we haven't had that before, so that was an experience, and we like it. You get to your spot where you want to fish straight off the bat.
Yeah.
Our plan was to fish exact same as we did on day one, and just fish the same bank and same plastic, same thing, and just you see what happens. It was very slow actually, day two for us.
Right.
The first hour or two, we got our bag, but they were really small fish. They would have been
school fish, like 35.
Yeah.
If that. Yeah.
32, 33 fork kind of size. 500 gram.
Okay, so you got a bag reasonably early, but then you obviously had to chase some bigger ones if you're going to compete. How'd they come about?
Pretty much just a grind, really. Just grinding it out and just getting one every now and then. At that point, it was.
I know you had an idea that they would be on the other side of the bank, and at that point we fished the same size as we did on day one, but we hadn't did the other side, and we're just like, look, let's just go over there to have a look and fish some. Some really good timber. There was actually a big log that he said. It was funny though because I was like, look,
he was going to skip it too. That's the funny part. He was going to go past it. I'm like, no, look at this log. Look at this big bush next to this log. There's got to be fish on it. Like the pressure of the current, it's like just hitting it. I'm like, there's got to be a fish on it. And pretty much he straight away just pulled out one of the biggest fish of the day straight away.
Right.
I think 2 or 3 upgrades came from that. One snag.
Straight up, there would have been. How big was we didn't get away on it. There would have been.
That first fish was easily, mid 40s, easy.
It was like 1.6, pushing 1.7, easy. It was just in crazy kind of kicker fish. You only really dream of having, and then straight after that on the 124, we got 2 more upgrades. Just about, what were they? You reckon 1.2s, 1.3s?
Yeah, 1.2s, 1.3s. I'm pretty sure they were like 42 centimeter, 43 centimeter bream after that.
Yeah, wow. So solid. And how was the take? Was it a case of just throwing it in tight and then the fish was smashing it, or how'd that look?
Day 2 for me was almost a hunch. I even said this to him. I was like, I don't even know how, you just you get a weird feeling, right? And your line and your lure, it's not sinking properly. You just a weird kind of feeling, and that's kind of all I can describe it as. And I struck into these fish, and you had them there. Sometimes you would get that tiny little pluck, but it was a very minute kind of bite, right? It was just
it was kind of just like grabbing
like a pull almost. It wasn't even a pluck, and you had to be onto it. You had to be on your game. You had to get your hooks into it, and then lock up, bring them out with the Minn Kota, and then back off the drag because otherwise you pull hooks on your fish. Yeah, I definitely think that we both agree with this. The Miller Rod Scrub Freak having that lighter, softer tip really helped a lot with keeping hooks into the fish when we brought them out, for sure. Because if you had to go on heavier, I reckon you just would have.
Yeah, we would have just ripped hooks out.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's really, really interesting. And in terms of lost fish, did you lose any big ones apart from the one that you caught? And anyway,
I think most of the lost fish for the entire comp were pre-fish and day one, like the bite-offs and stuff like that. And pre-fish, I got destroyed in a snag because I was running too light a leader.
Okay.
But other than that, I think we were pretty much on our game for day 2. Like the strike rate was pretty good. So,
all right. So from what I can understand, it was more or less the same pattern you fished both days. Obviously got slightly less on day 2, but tell us you end up with a late penalty, which is borderline. Well, anyway, I think from what I can understand is borderline. If you didn't get the late penalty, you wouldn't have got the fish you needed, but one more minute and you wouldn't have won, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Something like that.
This is a classic of unfortunate events, and then everything goes right until it doesn't, right? If something's going to go wrong, Murphy's Law kind of thing. And it's something did. we up until then we had four fish really, and that would have been every fish would have been every bit of 1.3 kilo, and we decided to run back up down the straits towards the boat ramp where we hadn't really fished much, and we thought, well, let's have a look. And even though it's been fished already, people aren't doing exactly what we're doing. So there's got to be fish up and still in the snags that we can get out and then pull up. And straight away, really within the first minute or two, got a really good fish out of there. And that was like, yeah, that's it. That's what we need for the bag. Got rid of another little small one. When I say small, at that point, small.
Well, that would have been a 40 centimetre fish. It would have been a kilo fish, that one.
Ouch. Yep.
Yeah. We probably realistically learned a lot. We could have gone back and been like, well, let's just leave and take what we got. But when you got the likes of, you've got Paul Malov and all these other massive, consistent guys who always put up big bags and they're just very good at what they do, you back your mind, well, you've got to back yourself up with another good bag as well to bring that to the table, and that's exactly our kind of thought process. So we pushed on for one more and was about, how far do you reckon, kind of about 20 metres or so down the bank?
Yeah, 20 metres. We ended up crossing back over to the other bank to get another fish.
Mm.
That was after trying to swim that fish and, try and revive it for, I reckon that was about half an hour we tried reviving that fish. Like, just see if we can get
it. So much time.
Yeah, we lost a good half an hour or so on that fish, just trying to keep it alive. But it just ended up going belly up and not surviving, which was unfortunate.
Yeah, and unusual. So you had to then track down another fish because you'd already released
one of the other fish. So, yeah. So we ended up just going up river to one of the spots where we knew we could get a fish and just getting a little 500-gram fish, like a school fish, and having to come back down, put the boat on the ramp and then continue on from there.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was the mood like? Was it like panic stations by this stage? Or?
It was, our hearts were sinking, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Didn't feel good. We thought we were done for.
And I can't remember what the situation was with the Vic Bream. Do you have to put a key tag on the board?
Yeah, you have to get to the place where you hand in your key tag by a specific time.
Yep.
And we're 5 minutes late.
5 minutes late.
Yeah, we had to be there at 2:45 and we were there at 2:50. So
2:50. And was everyone cheering as you were running in?
Oh, I can't remember off the top of my head.
There was actually, we had a fair bit of support, and it was really kind of stuff that kind of melts your heart, really. Really, really nice that, people, I guess, new faces and stuff up there, and people wanted that, and just very appreciative of just how nice people were. It wasn't feeling very good when I walked into the weigh-in, though. Like, I wasn't paying much attention.
Yeah.
I just, you lose a big old fish like that. Let's just say, not even about your bag rub, but you love these fish, and it's a passion for what you do. And seeing a fish of that size and how old and just to pass away was just gut-wrenching to us. And
100%.
Yeah, that was a terrible feeling.
100%. And what I was referencing often, because I fish all the Hobies, there's nearly always someone late every comp, and they're usually running up the bank while everyone's cheering them. So it's a bit of fun. All right. So look, all in all, you guys came back in with your 4.95 with your late penalty. You ended up winning, but what was it, for 410 grams? So still a reasonable margin. If you had bought 4 fish back, you wouldn't have won.
That's exactly right.
Very good. All right. I reckon that's a great story. Is there anything else with regards to the fishing that we should talk about before we move on?
No, not really. I mean, there's definitely, if you go back, day 2 was a little bit different to day 1. The tides were pumping heaps more, really. Just the current was insane, and just a bit of tougher bite. But that's, to be expected after banks have been fished a fair bit and fish are spooking and a bit more of a grind.
Yeah. What do you guys do when it gets tougher? Do you have a go-to plan? Do you put scent on, or do you mix it up a bit? Or
yeah, sometimes chucking just a different lure or a little bit of scent can help for sure. Just different profile, even smaller. We even found actually going bigger sometimes. attract the fish, especially out wide. And
or even the same lure, different colour has actually worked for me in the past. We'll get a bite.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Very good. All right. So you end up in first place. Tell us, what did you get to take home for first place? And the biggest bag, I think.
I'll let Joshy go.
So we got handed basically 2 signs of 4,200, and that's split between us. So we end up taking 2,100 each back.
Nice.
And it's just pretty, incredible, really, to be able to get that from something that you love doing.
Yeah.
And we got, what was in the biggest bag? That was
the Sunline best bag. It was a couple Lucky Crafts, some line and leader, some braid scissors. So that was really good, actually.
Yeah, no, cool.
Yeah, nice. And tell me, the money, did it go to your partners or did it go back to tackle?
It went to bills, pretty much. Bills and tackle, pretty much what it's going to. Yeah.
For me, our car did a transmission, but it turns out it's all electronic and stuff, but there's still a lot of bills and stuff to be paid there and getting a whole service and things like that. So it was really amazing to be able to get that come in at that time, and took a bit of pressure off me and the missus.
Yeah.
So sacrificing a few days of work or for the weekend to drive down there and just to have that kind of result was something. I was nearly crying almost. Had to keep it together at the end.
Very good. And you got the number 1 next to your name. So how good's that?
It's just, amazing.
Very good. All right, guys. Last thing before we shoot off, is there anyone you want to give a shout out to or say thank you to?
I'd love to shout out Munro Soft Plastics for their support they've given me over the years, and definitely, my partner, Ronya Cayenne, she's been amazing support through it all. And this year was nearly giving up in the end, and decided, look, let's keep doing it. It's your passion, and you're having fun, and just to have some results coming through. And Connor as well, can't forget him. Connor's me and him have been going through different growths and as a team.
Yeah.
So we've been growing and learning heaps, and it's good to get a result, hey.
Fantastic. All right, guys, let's leave it there. That's a fantastic story. Well done. And hopefully I get to have a talk to you after you head up to Malakuta, assuming you're heading up.
Yeah, he's not fishing it. He's down.
I'm not fishing it. I'm just there for the shits and giggles.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
But I'll be definitely fishing it. So you'll hear from us if we do well.
Do well. Very good, guys. All right. Well, thank you so much, and I'll talk to you again.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, guys. So I really hope you enjoyed the stories there. Great to see the guys get over the line. Just in the end, they're just by 410 grams, so not a lot. A couple of things could have gone a bit further wrong, and maybe they wouldn't have got there. But in any case, they did. It wouldn't be a Bream Fishing Project if I didn't talk about the collective. What we've got going on there right now, as we speak, we've got the Mussel and Crab Challenge. So for anyone that's out there and they're like, I know these things catch big fish and I can't do it, well, this is the place to be. Get yourself signed up. It's brimfishingproject.supercast.com. You can find it on most podcasts that I do. Doesn't matter where you are, just scroll down into the description and click the link. Get yourself across there. Sign up. If you don't like it, sign out after a month. No harm, no foul. At the moment, we've got a little prize draw going over the next 6 weeks for the new subscribers. So I expect we'll probably have maybe 20 in that. So you got 1 in 20 chance of winning a great pack from Force Lures, which I spoke about in the monthly report just last week. So look, if that's something that interests you, definitely jump on board with that. Aside from that, all I'm going to say at the moment is I'm just really enjoying the fishing and what's going on. We've got Hobie comps coming up. I'm going away a couple of weeks up to Swains Reef. There's a heap going on. I'm super excited. So I'm going to leave it there with all that excitement. Roll the outros, and I'll talk to you next week on the Bream Fishing Project.
Thanks for listening. Hopefully you were informed, inspired and entertained. If you were able to learn something or just enjoyed listening, please consider subscribing and rate us on your favourite podcasting platform.